You passed your luck check. It's
The No Class Podcast.
with your host, Eddie.
And Matt.
And welcome back to the podcast that's got what it takes to make a mountain man leave his home.
That's right. That's right. Double up on those mountain oysters. Hello, everyone. So good to be speaking with you again.
We've missed you. I know you've missed us.
I saw a statistic the other day.
A statistic?
Exactly. It was very scientifical. And it said that listeners of the No Class Podcast are some of the sexiest people around.
And where did you conduct this study?
In the place with the thing. Listen, Jack.
Sample size, Heather.
All right. So,
He's hitting the ground running, folks.
you know it.
Don't try to hold him back. He's got something to say.
Lots of stuff. The things. But we'll try not to be long-winded. Long in the tooth.
So, what would you like to start with? The long con?
Item 0 on the list, long con. Guess what? Special guest.
What?
You probably already knew about the awesome Greg Gillespie, who did Barrow Maze, Dwero Deep, that other one I can't remember, but they're all good. I own all of them. High quality, award-winning, major awards. Man of many talents. Greg Gillespie's coming this year as a special guest to the first confirmed guest of the Long Con. And now we've also, as well, we're confirming Brendan LaSalle, who just had an outrageously successful Kickstarter for his X-Crawl game from DCC.
Didn't we already outrageously announce him?
We did. And then finally, do we tease them? Do we tell them? Do we hint at, or do we actually?
It's not that exciting.
I know, but
It's only
yeah,
the David Beatty,
the Cat Daddy himself.
the weirdest of frontiers.
Exactly. He is announced that he's coming as well. So there you go. Quite a list. And then you've got the coolest special guests like Gary Oliver,
Matt Gullett.
exactly. Eddie Brantley, That guy's awesome.
Shorty.
He has a wicked ponytail. All the girls want to stroke it.
Well, that's the difference between having that chrome dome and this ponytail.
Of course, I know a girl that loves to rub that shaven head.
This is when we need the video podcast.
And he just turned a little green around the gills. All right.
It's not disgust, it's contempt.
Exactly. It's a little of both, don't lie. So anything else you want to say about the coolest con in East Texas?
Okay, yeah, here's the funny part.
Okay.
We sold our 99 badges right off the bat, and boom, that's it.
That's it. We have not sold one since.
So we haven't gone crazy. We haven't started advertising and such, and we're not crying about it.
No.
This
We're
100 is
tickled
a
pink.
success.
Yeah.
We'll shut up and have a lot of fun.
No, y'all have done so much for Eddie's morale this year. I thank you, because I have to hold him while he cries every year. We're like, this is it. It's over, man. It's over.
Well, that's just so I can get close enough to lick that bald head of yours.
Oh, that's maybe I win a rubbery one.
Dye that thing like an Easter egg.
There you go. All right, sicko. What's
So anyway, long con, looking forward to it.
yeah.
The next thing up, and we're going to make these brief, I think.
Yeah, we're trying. Go ahead. Bullet points.
Have you got anything for books or comic books?
No, I've been way too busy for either one, sadly.
Okay, I have been reading Void Rivals, which is typical, like these two factions are fighting and two pilots crash land and end up on a planet together, and they have to try and get back
I've only seen this story how many times?
a million times.
Yeah.
But the
Old chestnut.
interesting twist on this is it's set in the Transformers universe. These are not Transformers characters.
But it's in their universe.
But yeah, so in like their first episode, they run into one of the characters from, like, if you know Transformers, you'd be like, aha, it's Jetfire.
Yeah.
But if you don't, then it's like, okay, whatever. But they've had little encounters along the way where they've run into minor Transformers characters and stuff like that. And so there's actually going to be a Transformers comic book in that same world that they're spinning off.
Oh, cool.
But even this Void Rivals has been pretty interesting.
Okay.
So I think that Transformers comic book is coming out in September. So looking forward to that.
Cool. All right.
Then after books and comic books, we get to TV.
Okay, so the second season of Strange New Worlds has arrived, and we devoured it. I loved season 1, and I'll dare say this is a rare thing for me. This season I feel is even better.
And that's a Star Trek
Yeah,
spinoff.
and it's one of those things, kind of like people in my lifetime feel like we're kind of a nerd. Yeah, and it's like, you must love the Star Wars. I appreciate it, but not particularly. You must be crazy about Star Treks. No, not particularly. I mean, I appreciate the shows, and I've watched some of them, parts of them, but like I maybe watched one episode of Deep Space Nine and maybe Discovery or Discover whatever once. I mean, so no, I'm not. But this really hits the spot. I'll say that, and this is where I can say this here. I think you all are my friends and won't judge me too hard, but like on the internet, everybody was like, "Oh, I thought it was wonderful." The one they did that was the musical one this season. Me and Heather both were like looking at each other like, "Are we going to fight through this?" And we did to the end, but no, it was an interesting concept. Now I will say, auto-tune Klingons dancing was kind of amusing. That part made me laugh. There's a whole thing, I won't go into it, but in the end, it's still a worthy addition to the season. But I'll say that's my lowest point. But other than that, but even then, I mean, great season. Even if you're not a fan of Star Trek in general, I really have enjoyed Strange New Worlds. Yeah. So anyway.
Okay, I think on the last podcast for TV, you had talked about Box of Curiosities, Cabinet of Curiosities, or whatever.
Yeah.
Have you watched it? I can't remember if you just said, "Hey, this is coming out. Keep it on the radar."
I watched the first couple episodes, and I enjoyed them. But it's one thing that, like, me and Heather, sometimes there's something she'll check out, and when she checks out, I'm probably not up to finish it. Like, I had to go back to finish the D&D movie. She gave it a good solid 15, 20 minutes to set the hook and was like, "I'm going to take a nap." And I went, wow. You know what I mean? And yeah, which I don't entirely blame her. But I mean, but I muscled through because I felt compelled, being who I am, track record, the history, this podcast. Let me muscle through and finish it so that I can give an honest evaluation or whatever. Anyway, that being said, we watched the first 2 or 3 of those. I enjoyed them. Heather's mileage may vary. She tends to like scary stuff. It's not so much, some of it's scary, but it's definitely got that creep factor. It's hard to put my finger on, but as soon as you hear that old Del Toro's involved, that guy's a genius. But how much was he involved, though?
Yeah.
But anyway, you say that because...
So I have watched the first half. I
Okay.
think it's 8 episodes.
Uh-huh.
I've watched the first 4. And let me premise this with, I really like Black Mirror and Oats Studio and Twilight Zone and lots of other sci-fi horror anthologies. I'm an anthology kind of guy.
Yeah, that's in your wheelhouse.
Not enjoying this. Maybe there'll be some good episodes. I've heard good things about some of the episodes that are later to come, and I don't want to obviously read too much because it's all like, here's the surprise twist.
Yeah, exactly. Why don't ruin it? So I will ask, out of those first 4, which one was your least favorite?
The one that you haven't seen yet, that was probably number 4. I think it's called Outside or The Outside. But if I'm messing up that name, it is the one where the ugly duckling lady gets this lotion, and it's going to make her beautiful.
Oh wow! No, I don't remember seeing that. So I did the one that
Love
had
the Creep Show, because that almost
Yeah.
you'll get a very I can't remember the one now, but you remember the one Creep Show with Stephen King,
Oh yeah,
where he's like, "If you get in that bathtub,
Jody
boy,"
Verrill. The sad fate of Jody Verrill, and he was great in that. And I love both of the Creep shows, and like I love those old Clarion comics as a kid that had a lot of those horror line until the comic code came out and ruined that for all of us. And it's a shame, 'cause those were great comics.
Yeah, I like the old Alfred Hitchcock's Presents. Those were
yeah.
really good.
Well, I'll say the one. So the guy that got an Oscar, Abraham, what is it? F. Murray. Yeah, that one I didn't really care for that one.
And that's one of the highest rated ones.
Isn't that funny?
That one. And
But what's your take on that one?
so
I'd be curious to see. Sometimes we're on the same page, and sometimes we're cross points, and stuff.
you've watched the 2 episodes. So you've seen Lot 36,
Yeah, which I enjoyed.
and you've seen The Autopsy.
That one, yeah.
And
I've
we
definitely
won't
seen
give
that.
away spoilers.
No, we won't.
For
Go ahead.
both of those, and maybe for all of them, I would say they go too long. Kind of like I said with Stranger
See, I
Things. It's like,
agree.
man, if this was a 30-minute episode
It'd be
instead
right
of trying
on
to be an
Yeah,
hour,
it felt like it dragged on. Like, get to it.
which Twilight Zone, Alfred Hitchcock's Presents, I think those, well, at least some of the Twilight Zones are 30 minutes. I think there was some of the, like, this season's an hour and that season's 30 minutes. But for the most part, it's like cut it down and get onto it. I think it's not a spoiler to say Lot 36 is kind of like Storage Wars, where he buys the storage locker. And there's a lady who he bought her storage locker. Why is she hanging around all day?
Yeah.
That didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, exactly. Me either. I was like, come on.
And it dragged and dragged, and you could see where it was going a mile away. And that premise was kind of like, if you'd like to see something like that a million times better, Ninth Gate. Did you see that movie?
Yeah.
The one with Johnny Depp.
Yeah, Johnny Depp.
Ah, that's such a good movie.
Oh, yeah, it's a great movie.
Me and the old Matt Couch are both big fans of that one.
And that one's kind of a slow burn, but they did it. It was better executed. That thing, like you said, now that you say it, it's like trying to put my finger on it. They just kind of drug, and that's like the one with F. Murray, Abraham, whatever. It's like get on with it. Like,
that could have easily been 30 minutes. That one was
interesting, but it was almost like, would you get to it, but it drug. You just kind of languid, just get almost.
And then the solution to it is X, and you're like, why didn't you Y? It's kind of like the logic of it. It's like, I came up with 15 better ideas than you did, and you're a smart character, and there's quite a bit of that.
But this is what kills me right now. There's a strike going on of all these wonderful writers, and I'm going, maybe it'd be nice if they kick them out and get some new writers. Might be a good thing, I mean, because look, like
it's a case by case thing.
Yeah, but like you said, in both cases, it's kind of like, well, first of all, I saw that coming a mile away, really, and the other one, it's like that was really the best outcome here this guy could think of. This guy, it's like, come on. It's like I said, it's kind of like with The Walking Dead. Why I quit watching it. The writing was so terribly bad. I mean, what a wonderful premise, and what great actors and some interesting characters, but like these characters would all of a sudden from one season to another, like, I just ate a brain tumor, watch me do something stupid that was nothing like my character last season. And you're like, who's doing the writing, and how has someone not put their thumb on them? It's just bad writing. And that's like you said before, people want to be mad at an actor or a director, and many a time, no, that's a good actor they've got for that role. And this is look at this guy's pedigree. He's a good director. You've got a writer writing some stupid crap that this director's trying to direct and this actor's trying to act.
Because Buster Suggs is in the first one.
Yeah.
He's the guy buying storage lockers, and he can do anything he wants to now because of old Buster. That's another one that we love.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but again, even in that bunch of anthologies, and I love it overall, there's one or two of those that are hold your nose stinkers. But some of those are just brilliant, just awesome, Definitely worth the admission price. But anyway.
So far, with Matt being a quarter of the way through it and gives it a okay until I've talked him down now, I think.
Yeah, we'll see, yeah.
And right now, I'm kind of on if I had to give it the score, I'm at maybe a 5 out of 10 or something.
Now, sometimes you went against your nature, but as a general rule, you're a completionist. You think you're going to complete it?
Yeah, it's only 4 more episodes, but I got to tell you, I'm really dragging my feet on it. It's only 8 episodes, and when you're the retiree, I could have binged that in a day if it was any good.
Yeah, but that's where one thing that's good is what's helped certain things through the years. Sometimes if I have low expectations go into it, it has ample room to impress me,
Right, so that may work for you guys.
Yeah.
But this one, I will say, going in with more of a higher standard because Del Toro.
Yeah, I mean, Del Toro, both of our guys that like, oh man, yay, because even that one thing he did with old Harry Potter, that not long after he left the Potter franchise, he did that movie with him. What was it called? You know what I'm talking about. Wasn't it Del Toro? And it was kind of a horror suspense movie. It's a house.
Oh, yeah. That was the Ghost of the Crimson something.
Yeah, something.
Crimson
Red
House.
or Crimson in there. Yeah. And that one totally bombed. And it kind of, I think, hurt him a little bit in Hollywood. But as I understand, people said that it wasn't bad.
I went out and saw it at the theater because I'm that guy.
Yeah.
And
okay, well, it really was that bad then. Okay.
And it wasn't like this is the worst movie I've ever seen, but my expectations were through the roof
because Del Toro
and that did not meet them at all. But if you have those low expectations and go in, you might be like, nah, not bad, but it's not like The Thing where it's like, that movie didn't do anything, but it's fantastic. That one's kind of like, it didn't do anything, and it kind of deserved to not do anything.
Yeah. All right, fair enough.
All right. How about some movies?
No.
I like the movie. So I don't even know if you've heard of this one.
Oh my!
I don't
Big
really
butt women
see
from
a lot
Mars.
of commercials. So the Last Voyage of the Demeter.
I have, ironically enough, heard of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I did. We went and saw. Geez, see, I can't even think what we went and saw. Oh, The Meg, because Jennifer loves giant shark movies or anything like that.
Yeah.
So we went and saw The Meg too.
The Meg, I know the first one. Didn't it have the guy who was like Dwight
So
Schrute?
does-
You know,
Oh,
the first movie Meg, he was kind of the bad guy.
Yeah,
in the Meg.
probably.
It was Dwight Schrute. I can't think of the guy's name.
Yeah.
Rainn Wilson.
yeah.
Was the kind of the I'm telling you we're gonna thrive flat on this thing's throat if that's what it takes. You're insane, you'll kill us all. You know, he's that guy that I don't care what you want. You know, this is what we're doing. You know, anyway, yeah.
I think
So-
it's the typical like I'm a billionaire and everything I do is fantastic. Oh, you got to do what the billionaire says.
yeah.
So we went and saw The Meg 2, which I kind of liked The Meg 1.
Mm-hmm.
It's no Godfather or whatever you say. It's not going to go down in the movie classics, but
But it's
has that
but it's
fun
also
popcorn
not
movie.
Shark Tornado or whatever.
Yeah.
You know.
But the second one,
Uh-huh.
I'd skip it unless you're just. But Jen, of course, loved it. So
course
there
she
you go.
did,
There.
yeah.
But that's where I saw the advertisements for The Last Voyage,
Mm-hmm.
which, of course, you guys know, huge Dracula vampire fan.
Mm-hmm.
So any of that stuff, you've got my attention. So we went and saw that.
Uh-huh.
Lower your expectations,
Mm-hmm.
but I thought it was good.
Okay.
It definitely wasn't great, and that one has just bombed
yeah.
completely.
And who did that one? Who was the people involved? You ever even heard of them, kind of thing?
No, I can't remember. The director had been like, "Oh, he did this," and I was like, "Yeah, okay,
So the Last Voyage of the Demeter.
yeah."
Interesting. It's a
Check that
vampire
out when
flick.
it's streaming near you for
wait
free.
for it to stream.
But it was
yeah.
fun on the. That was the one where I was like, the big screen sometimes can make a movie.
Or help it for
Yeah,
sure.
so I was like, this might be one that gets that advantage. It was okay, but it ain't gonna be in theaters for much longer. Like I think it made $5 million in theaters or something like that so far against a $45 million budget,
Wow.
and had all kind of development problems. Like they've been trying to make this movie for 20 years.
Damn.
Yeah,
Wow.
and I'm trying to think, what's the guy from the Game of Thrones who was the Onion Knight?
Yeah, that guy. Yeah. Which I like that actor, but
Yeah.
honestly, what would you ever know him from before Game of Thrones, and what has he done since? This.
So he doesn't have a huge role in this or anything. So he's in it. He's good.
And if they had made it
But-
when they were first trying to make it, his little bit of star power he had might would have helped it. But by now, people are like, "Who is this guy?"
And I kind of wish that I had watched Bram Stoker's Dracula and then stopped it when Dracula goes to make the voyage to London, and then restarted it after that movie. It'd be like, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I'll throw that idea out to you too.
Yeah.
But it was very interesting.
Cool.
Okay, video games.
Video games. Okay, so interesting bit of news. I'm curious if you've heard this. There's a new PS5 handheld has been announced.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, and they're talking about it's going to have like a $200 price point. That's not bad for a handheld, right?
But what's a Steam Deck?
Shit, I don't know.
I'd have to look at the price of a Steam Deck and see, because I mean, Steam Deck's incredible. But I've already got the PSP and what was the other one? See, the Vita,
Yeah, the Vita.
which was basically the equivalent for PS4. So I'll probably get it just because I've got everything else.
Yeah,
But maybe this time I'll wait for the markdown.
yeah. But that's why for those of you that might be interested, yeah, there's the new PS5 handheld has been announced, and they're saying the price point will be somewhere around $200, which I thought was kind of interesting. And but otherwise, so what have I been playing?
What have you been playing
EverQuest.
on the PC?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
hooray!
Yeah, I mean,
hooray for Billy!
Yeah, but so my old buddy Tim of the YouTube channel, Dragon Slayer Models and Games, I introduced him to EverQuest way back in like 1999 when it first came out, and I was playing. So this game is like 23 years old. I can't believe how old this
So
game
for our
is.
younger listeners,
Yeah, 23 years old. And so, yeah, I mean, the graphics are a bit dated, but they did update the character graphics somewhere in the early aughts. But anyway, on a goof, one night he had posted, because I like his YouTube channel, and I think mostly because Tim's an old friend, you know. But I went one night at work, and I'm kind of like, I guess I started streaming one of his videos, and Tim does some great painting videos in there, because Tim is a brilliant painter. That Dragon Slayer models, that's his sideline. You know, he makes money. He's a brilliant model painter, you know, and he's had some tutorials and different things. But then now a lot of his more recent videos are talking about his time on one of these emulated EverQuest servers. And he's played on like the live servers, which some company called Daybreak or Daylight or something got the rights to it from Sony. And they're still running the old live EQ servers, but they're clunky. It's bad, whatever. I've tried them through the years when I've got nostalgic, and within 5 minutes, I'm like, oh, you know, whatever. So I thought you can never go home, never go back. And then there's a server called P99, or it's Project 1999, and it's the old original game with maybe only the first expansion or something. And it's okay, but you're getting the base old game and the expansion. And this is like, it's been running for like 12 years, which is phenomenal, over a decade, and it's free. I mean, it's just somebody's passion project. But anyway, but it's kind of limited. Well, this guy's doing something that it's called Wayfarer's Haven, and it's emulated EverQuest, but it's got like the first 5 or 6 expansions. Runs beautifully, a lot of fun. There's a few of these little quality of life improvements, because like back in the day, even the guy who made the game originally, Brad McQuaid, said, you know, we were a little too draconian. Like when you sit down to heal, get back mana, it takes way too long. But so like now when you sit down, it's like post combat, it flies. And it's like, okay, so great quality of life. And back in the day, like I like a certain degree of verisimilitude, but like traveling from one continent to the other, you had to literally queue up to get on a boat physically. Like your character got on a boat and you had to ride the boat to the next continent. It might take 45 minutes, real world time. That's where it's like, that's not fun. And so luckily now they've got these portal stone things that you click on, and you travel to the plane of knowledge. And guess what? In the plane of knowledge, there's all those little books on a pedestal. You can click to go, oh, I can leave over here in the evil lands on this one continent of the Dark Elves, click on the nearby book, travel to the plane of knowledge, walk 30 feet and click on the portal to take me to Antonica, where the good elves, you know, their realm or something, and boom, 15 minutes instead of an hour. Because nothing worse than you get to the new continent, forget to bind there, and go to attack something, or something jumps out and kills you, and you're back at your bind point, and you're like, and then you rage quit. So there's definitely some quality of life little fixes, but still, and I had this talk with Double R. I confessed to him after a couple weeks of playing that I was doing it. I thought he was going to razz me, you know, and he was like, dude.
I figured he'd jump on there with you.
He's like, I'm going to come check it out, and shit, he's in love with it. And the thing about it.
That explains it.
Yeah. And so the thing about that is, like we talked about, I've played numerous MMOs and games through the years, and this was really probably the first massively multiplayer online game that I've accomplished stuff in other games, but I look back, I feel no real great sense of accomplishment, or can go, oh, let me tell you about what I did, and wow, like right now I couldn't conjure a memory. But things you accomplish in EQ, you kind of earn that shit. It was the first game, so it was definitely more difficult, you know what I mean? Not difficult, but definitely,
well, kind of like playing first edition D&D or whatever,
exactly,
where it's like, when you killed a dragon, buddy, you killed a dragon.
Something. Yeah. And so like if you maxed out a skill in EverQuest, you accomplished something. If you know, it took a real raid management strategy and tactics, and even then you might wipe out 2 or 3 times to kill that one dragon. When you did, I mean, yeah, you had bragging rights and shit. Our guild has arrived or whatever. So anyway, so yeah, I'm on Wayfarer's Haven. It's free to play. And like I said, check out Tim's YouTube channel, Dragon Slayer Models and Games. He's got a lot of really neat videos that talk about playing on this server and like what to expect and what to do. And they're just kind of interesting to watch, even if you maybe, I don't know, but.
And if you need a bunch of minis painted, hit him up too.
Exactly. Yeah. If you want the highest quality professional paint job, check him out. But that's me for video games.
So for me, for video games, I'm playing The Quarry. Oh. Which I don't know if you've heard of that one.
It sounds familiar, but
it's kind of like an 80s horror flick as a video game.
Oh, cool.
So you're taking the place of, you know, the old tramp girl. Oh, yeah. You're like, oh, she's getting killed, and then like, here's the virgin girl, and here's the nerdy guy, and here's the jock, and all that kind of stuff.
All the stereotypical in the old Jason movies, you know.
So this movie is about 10 hours long.
Oh, wow.
So we'll see on that. Right now, I'm getting to the point where it's like, yeah, wrap it up. I want to know the ending. Let's get there. Stop keeping me in suspense. So I'm maybe 2 hours away from the end or something.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, come on, let's go. So I can't give it the review yet.
Do you think
so far so good?
Do you
If you
feel
like
like
the Telltale Games type stuff,
so you feel like you're getting your money's worth on this?
because it's a rental.
There you go.
Because 10 hours, I think like the one playthrough is 10 hours.
Wow.
But I also think you might be able to get it on PSN for free.
Yeah.
Where it's one of those free games, and then all you Xbox people have that new like download it thing. So so far so good. We'll have to follow up and give you the. Here's another thing, a slightly new category for us: TCGs.
Oh yeah.
The old trading games, card games,
collectible card games. You know,
CCG.
CCGs, TCGs. You know, yeah.
So the one point I wanted to bring out is there's the new Lorcana Disney game.
Okay, yeah.
But it's been getting scalped just insane amounts.
Really?
And even you can say what you want to about the game stores if that's scalping. I think price gouging is
price
the thing for
gouging
them,
is the word
because they're not buying it and turning it around.
Yeah, it's price gouging.
But I have had reports that some stores around us are selling the little starter pre-con deck for 3 times. Like it's a $20 deck and they're selling it for $60.
That's ridiculous.
And then,
but if people are dumb enough to pay it,
I bought a starter deck, and then I went to get another item, and that item, because I was like, oh, the starter deck's reasonably priced. And buy the other item, that was double what it was supposed to be. I was like, no thanks.
Yeah.
So that's one of those in the RPG world. It's pretty clearly marked, and there's no reason to price gouge it or scalp it or whatever. But boy, on the TCGs, you got to watch it.
Yeah, that's why I want to think some companies did away with MSRP on these card games, because people go, wait a minute, that's not what this is supposed to cost. Now it costs whatever we price it, Jack. But that's where they get mad that there's online sources that are selling shit that's cheaper than they can sell at brick and mortar. But then look what you do, brick and mortar, when you sell things for 2 and 3 times what really should be the appropriate. There isn't an MSRP anymore, but if there were, but anyway, I'm proud that Dragon's Nest is not price gouging. So
exactly, they have sold theirs for what it should be cost.
Appropriate, yeah.
And then because I have also seen the store cost, so I know what they paid. I know what it's recommended, even there's no MSRP or whatever.
Recommended, yeah.
But kind of like this is what you should be selling it for.
This is
So
and then,
ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I've probably said it before, but there was another not so friendly local game store that was selling boxes of Magic boosters for $100 more. So it's like, if you're into such things, shop around.
Yeah, you check. Don't blind something blindly. And honestly, here's the thing: is I'll say years ago when I was into Magic and I worked at a game store back in the early '90s when Magic was first kind of hitting, I remember putting singles in sleeves and pricing and putting them out in a case, and people come up and look at a card and go, "People really pay that price?" And I went, "Some people do, and some people don't." This is all relative, to one person that's just some ink on a piece of cardboard and it ain't worth anything, and to one person that Shivan Dragon is worth twice the listed price there. Ooh, I need 4 of them. Oh, I don't care.
Well, that was back in the day when you were putting prices on them, right?
Yeah,
they don't do that anymore.
Really?
You pay market price. So I mean, if you buy that card today, maybe it's $10. If you buy it tomorrow, maybe it's $20.
Well, because back then there was a Scry magazine that we looked, and that Scry came out every 3
now
months.
It can get updated every day.
Yeah, it's on the internet, and you can go look live right today. Oh, it's went up $3 today. Oh, it went down $5, just like the stock market or something.
Yeah, 100% like that.
That is insane. What an age we live in. Yeah, but I mean, teach their own.
We were looking at that high-end gaming computer that one of our buddies is selling, and I noticed that it was like, not interested in trades unless you got high-end Magic cards. So that was kind of funny.
Yeah. But that's what I was going to say. One more note about that. One reason why I love that I can play this EQ game is my computer is 10 years old. We're talking this on here. That game runs beautifully, on my 10-year-old computer, and looks great, runs great, I'm actually like what they call 2-boxing. Back in the day, it was tough. When this game first came out, the computers didn't have the muscle to run like 2 iterations of the program simultaneously, and you could alt tab back and forth. Like, I'll have the cleric heal my warrior character. Now I could 3-box flawlessly. I mean, it's a 23-year-old game, but anyway, enough about that. But,
Okay, let me put you on the spot here because this is something we should have already talked about probably, but
Sure.
Kickstarters.
Kickstarters. Okay.
You have that in your notes.
Absolutely. Kickstarter news. First of all, our good buddy Ben Burns of New Comic Games has got a new Wild Magic Surge deck for 5th edition. And he also has something coming out for Call of Cthulhu. Okay.
Nice.
But I could have swore he had like a module for 5th
Yeah.
edition. Okay. So what's the news on that? What's it called?
See, that's why I put you on the spot,
Yeah.
but I'll admit right now that I don't remember.
I went
but
and did a quick Google search, went to his very own New Comic website, and I didn't see anything about a 5th edition module in it, but I could have swore somewhere in my Facebook feed over the last
yeah,
2 or 3 weeks.
because I think it's
numerous
coming
times.
out for 5th edition
Yeah.
and OSR
So
stuff.
I would go look on Kickstarter and look under, New Comet Games, and our old buddy Ben Bird's an award-winning gamesman or whatever.
3 castles.
Yeah, he's
several
won
times.
numerous 3 Castle Awards. He's doing a number of new products. His stuff's always been high quality. Check it out. Next, our good buddies Bill and Ben Barsh of Pacesetter Games are coming out with The Green Flame, and it's an adventure that's solo play. I notice that's become a thing in the last few years. There are some people that really love the idea of RPGs, but due to COVID and the way the world has went, they've become shut-ins, or just someone who's like, I never can seem to get together with my play group, whatever. They've come out with an adventure that's solo play, and I'll be interested to see how it works. But Bill and Ben write top-notch stuff, high-quality art. Trust me, go check it out. And that's the idea of solo play. It's kind of cool. Sometimes you want to play some D&D or whatever, and you can't get together with your buds.
Yep.
And if third, our good buddy Tom Wilson of Throwy Games has just put out The Prison Pit. And it's got a longer name than that, but the only part I can remember is Prison Pit for Shadow Dark RPG. But ultimately, this is probably easily compatible with any kind of RPG, with a little bit of imagination. But right now, definitely, if you've bought into the new Shadow Dark RPG, which looks interesting, and you were like, well, gosh, I needed modules for it. Good luck. Tom Wilson has written something for it. And I can tell you this, Tom Wilson, I own a lot of his stuff. It's high quality. It's really good. So check it. And ironically enough, Lou isn't doing a Kickstarter right now, but I'll sure he'll be doing one in the next few days.
I was going to say you haven't checked Facebook in the last few minutes because Lou
Ah!
has announced that he's announcing something coming up very shortly.
He's announced that he's announcing something.
Yes.
Yeah. And of course, Levi has something going, but that's a given.
Yeah. And we love those guys. These are high quality products.
Yeah.
We hope to be adding to the problem soon.
Yeah.
But Jesus, it's too many Kickstarters.
Yeah. I'm thinking about I'm going to have a tier that if you buy into that tier, I'll give you my solemn oath not to do a Kickstarter every other month. Wah. Like some other people. But anyway, if you'll buy it at this tier, I won't,
I was going to say, if I buy in at this tier, you take me off your mailing list.
Exactly, yeah. So
I want to never hear from you again.
But no, I definitely don't want y'all to swear off Kickstarters, not until after you've gotten, Cavern of the Dead Gods. But no, it's going to be good. You're going to love it.
This is the pot in the pan thing, but
pot calling.
it's like, what do we need? Oh, we need one more podcast in the world. We need one more convention. And boy, we need some more Kickstarters.
Right. Anyway. All right. Talking about some little spicy DCC road crew. Are we can we acknowledge what info we just
Acknowledge? Yes, we can acknowledge anything we want to.
Yeah.
Can we discuss it?
Can we discuss it was a better word.
Yeah, I don't care about their secrets.
Yeah. So anyway, we're both on the advisory council for the road crew. So poor bastards. And so the hot, spicy new stuff is they're looking at probably doing something. What's the nomenclature I'm trying to conjure? That basically local groups, and they're going to give them a cute name like the Gong Farmers Local. Ours is probably Gong Farmers Local 903. And basically it's going to be a thing where, like, on the Goodman Games page, there'll be hyperlinks like, hey, wherever you are in the continental United States or Europe or wherever, and you're looking for a DCC game, and they'll have an email address for like your local contact. It would be like me or Eddie or both of us over in Georgia, it would be Fred, and over in Wisconsin, it'll be Joan or whatever. But they're going to have sort of a thing, and they're going to have like some specialized art to represent each group as kind of an attaboy and a thank you. And there'll be an official document like your charter, of your local group. So that's kind of neat. That's something to look forward to. But like I was bragging on my boy, no one really chimed in. But Eddie thought of this 3-4 years ago. He basically organized something like this, and it was kind of active at one time. We'd gotten our local people that had gotten into DC. We know people are playing DC locally because the game stores are selling it, the product. We just don't know these people. How do we reach these kids?
Yep.
Anyway.
I was going to say, instead of gong farmers, maybe ours should be long farmers for the long con, and that'd be like the long con design and stuff like that.
That'd be
long
cool.
con DCC cool stuff.
Yeah. It's something that might be exciting to some of the old guard. Troll Lord Games has been given the rights to reissue a Gygax classic, Castle Zagig, which, of course, you notice the name Zagig. Yeah, Gygax, very similar. Yeah, what? Yeah, they had to do that back in the day to avoid, legal ramifications from TSR after he left them. But he'd made that in conjunction with, Troll Lord Games, and they actually worked with him up until the end. So anyway, they're getting to reissue it, which I tell you a little. I won't mention that, but anyway. And the new artwork, folks, the new logo T-shirt artwork is, as the kids say, it's fire. It slaps. As the kids
for the
say.
convention.
Yeah, for the convention. I'm so anxious to have this artwork on a T-shirt, and I'm going to walk around with nothing but that T-shirt on. Just it's hot.
If we ever do another Twitch show, that would be a good place to reveal that art.
Mm-hmm.
The cover of my New Adventures art and the cover of your Adventures art.
Mm-hmm. And for those that might be interested, I now have all the interior artwork done in my possession for Caverns. The only artwork I'm waiting for, and yes, I'm still waiting for artwork, is from the guy in Europe for the cover. And again, if this was a video, you'd see the look of disgust on my face. But yeah, so that's everything I've got.
All right, so that'll wrap it up for today.
You want to do the topic?
Man, let's skip out on it. I kid. He's like, what the what?
If you did, I'm on the fence here, but yeah, okay.
Well, we said this will be nice and quick, and we're at the 35 plus mark.
Which is not bad. I was waiting for you to say 40. If it's 45, I maybe would wrap it up. Yeah.
But do you have a lot to say on this topic?
I don't. So that's
Me neither.
Yeah.
But this is your food for thought topic.
Yeah. Tell us what you think. We want to know what you think.
But this one is, and to put it like I put to Matt, right? Mm-hmm. What does an 18 look like? And he says, just escape jailbait or whatever, just past jailbait. And I was like, no, like an 18 in your stat, like an 18 strength.
Yeah, like how to decide does she look old enough? Anyway.
How do you figure out if somebody's 18?
Yeah, no. What does 18 look like in stat wise? So
because I was doing an adventure where that comes into play, and then with which we haven't talked about in forever, is the monster crawl.
Yeah.
With that, you have the Dybbuk, which you could possess a character. Mm-hmm. So you could go from like I was a little ghoul, and now I'm in this heroic guy with an 18 strength.
Yeah, because in this one scenario that Eddie's talking about, you have 18s in every stat. Most players go, woohoo, this is the best thing ever. And he still proceeds to kill you in 5 minutes.
Exactly.
So I mean, it's like, yeah, 18's great, but, if you only have 3 hit points.
Tell me when you have 180 hit points.
Exactly.
Or something.
And then I'll go, wow, whatever. And who cares? I'd love my character to go, I've got all 3s, but I've got 50 hit points, and they'll all be like, I'm kind of jealous, But I know going off, and again, this might be a time where I can still read the room wrong with Eddie. We've done so many times where I'm pretty sure we're on the same page. Totally not.
Let's find out.
So I was looking at old, like first and second edition D&D. Like they talked about, like a strength of 3 was described as someone who could military press 30 pounds over their head. Okay, I'm getting the nod. I think we're on the same page. And like if it was an 18, you 00, you could press 400 over your head or something.
Well, there
like
you have to stop for a minute, because this is a point that'll come up in a minute. Is how many people remember the day when you had an 18 and then you'd roll for your percentile?
Yeah, that's
so
old.
It's like,
that's first.
Oh, I've got an 1853 or something.
Because did second edition carry over the percentage?
Yeah,
they did. And I'll tell you this. Did I ever see Nathan Nibble at my table? Sure I did. Did I ever in my day see anyone literally roll 3 die 6 and roll 3 6s and then pick up a percentile dice and proceed to roll double odd? Never in my days have I gazed upon such a thing. But you better believe that people would go, oh, I rolled this at home. You lying sack of crap. Double R.
Gary.
Double R. But anyway, But it was interesting because there's a number of websites that talk about like trying to make a comparison between these games and the real world or whatever.
But if you had, just to go back to this before we move away from it,
Yeah.
if you have an 18 strength, it's like, oh, okay. But if you were like, I have an 18 double aught, it's like, oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Just how that percentile changes the perception.
Oh yeah, but what I like is, and if you go look at it, where okay, so let's try to get our head in the right space. Okay, this is a medieval game. Now, it's fantasy. It's medieval. Like a 9, 10, 11 is supposed to be an average attribute. Well, is that an average attribute for a typical citizen of this world, or is it for the adventurers, which you're supposed to be playing, who should be a cut above? And so really. I think if you took certain statistic, the weightlifting breakdown analogy that they came up with for first edition or whatever it was, the typical person nowadays only have a strength of about 6 or 7. But then again, we're a pretty sedentary, culture. But in this world where most people are agrarian and they have to work hard for the living every day, no, the average peasant probably would have a 9, 10, or 11 per this lifting, max, and their staminas. But then again, you hear about them being kind of malnourished, not having the quality of nourishment that we have. Would their constitutions be as good? Blah, blah, blah. Would their intels be as high? No. I mean, whatever. But it's one of those things to where, an 18 is. That's why it's sad is, and I've had to try to do this. I've had people recently when we started doing Castles and Crusades, they said, I'm going to have you guys roll. And already some people going, what roll? They're so used to stat arrays and point buys. I said, but I'm going to let you roll 4 die 6, drop the lowest die, which is very sweetie pie. Some people would tell you. Like, oh no, old school, 3 die 6 straight down the line of road. You take what you get, But now I'm like, roll 6 times. Put stats where you want. You can roll 4 die 6, drop the lowest die, whatever. But even then, some people got like 11s, 12s, 13s, and they're so used to some other games that they were like, ugh, like I've got all these 11s, 12s, and 13s. And I was like, you're griping about that? I remember back in the day, I would be doing a little dance if I had majority 11, 12, 13. But the thing is, old school D&D was written on a bell curve. Well, I mean, you roll dice on a bell curve. So, I mean, most of your stats would fall in the 9, 10, 11 range. And a lot of your and if you looked at the stats, an 11, even a 12 wouldn't really reward you any stat if you got that. And you'd be like, what? I'd go, well, you didn't get a bonus, but you didn't get a penalty. Mm-hmm. So I'd be like, hey.
Not having a penalty is its own reward.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to get at, where it's like, well, you don't have an addy, but you have a penalty. And the old games weren't so stat weighted. One thing I like about DCC is it's not stat weighted, and they brilliantly baked in things that make up for that lack of you having an 18. Like if you went to make a character in the world's most popular role-playing games current edition, you're making a fighter and you're allowed to use
D&D?
points. Yeah. 5th edition, that you're going to put an 18 or whatever, 16, whatever the max you can do at first level.
That's one of the reasons that it doesn't impress me either, is probably point buy, where it's like, of course you've got an 18.
Yeah. Whoop-de-doo, and that's where I love when it's like you organically rolled and like, oh boy, you got a 16 strength, and you're like, yeah, boy, I mean, and we're talking about games where you're like, I had an 18 strength to where like I had an 8, like back in the day when you roll that shit. It was
Remember
like,
that one character that had an 18 double aught strength?
Yeah. I mean, you'll talk about that shit to the end of days. So I want you to take that into account. But anyway, that's not really what this topic's about, but I think that segues into it. But anyway, what's your thought process on this?
Okay, what I was going for too is an 18 superhuman strong? Would Captain America be an 18 strength, or would he be more than an 18 strength? In your just off the cuff opinion.
I think he'd be like a 1920 even.
Exactly.
Yeah, which would still be phenomenal. I mean, that's more than human, and without the physique of a guy who normally can lift that much. Like, there's guys that can lift that much weight over the head, but if you've seen these guys, they look like a truck, or something. Whereas he's muscular but svelte, whatever.
But I think an 18 is still within human limitations.
Oh, no.
Like the beefiest farm boy or whatever you want to say.
Sure.
He can have an 18. It's not. Maybe when you get to a 19, that's when it's like, there goes Hercules or the demigod or what have you.
But I want you to think about something. In this wrapper has once again, okay, this is a somewhat typical, even though fantasy medieval world. There aren't gymnasiums. There's not supplements. There's not...
well, in general, if you want to go that far.
Yeah, I mean, testosterone shots or whatever.
They're all covered with fleas and scurvy.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to make a point is, how many 18 strengths would there really be? I mean... You've got the guy. I love, at least in like Conan, the first movie, he since from a young age was pushing that damn giant grist mill wheel. Yeah, that's why he's literally just sinew and muscle and so huge, because unfortunately for him, he was, captured and enslaved and made to push that thing his whole life. Because I love how otherwise, how would anybody in fantasy world look like Arnold? Well, okay,
Combat.
Yeah.
Constant combat.
Just constant combat, But
because in the real Conan stories, he's not. In the book stories, he's not captured. That's a movie-ism, I believe.
Yeah, that's a total movie. Well, basically, what's his name? Oliver Stone wrote that, ironically. He went on to gain a certain degree of success as a director, but he wrote that. And I'm sure you knew it. But Oliver Stone wrote that, and when he did, he actually took some stuff from Cole, which is still Robert Howard, but he took some stuff from Cole and stuff from various different Conan stories and blended together.
And then Conan in general is not... He's more of a Spider-Man build than an Arnold build.
Yeah. Thulsa Doom he's given the name Thulsa, but the Thulsa Doom had like a skull for a face. The actual look of James Earl Jones is really more, another enemy, a Thothamon or whatever, something like that would be a better. So again, Oliver Stone picked and chose, a lot, but back to what I was saying was like how many individuals would have an 18 constitution. So that's where like you said, it's kind of silly that, we're playing 5th edition D&D and 3 build the table playing warriors, and look, what do you know? You all have 16 strengths and 14 constitutions and 14 dexterities. Wow, you're all just cookie cutter guys and gals, and whatever. And it's like, what luck that the 3 people in the world who are this well nourished and strong all show up together to go adventuring. You see what I'm saying? Where like in the old days, if like I rolled a 16, I rolled a 15, hot shit, I got a 17. It's like you're like, oh man, this is awesome. I guess I should play a warrior, and you're gonna be like, proud of that 15. I rolled that, and you would get a bonus for a 15. Like I said, it wasn't that stat weight. You had to roll pretty damn well. This is on a bell curve, to get that exemplary stat to give you. And even then, it might just be a +1. But most of the stuff came from your gear and your class. It wasn't. The stats are there to help, but really is more about your class, your gear, and your playsman.
Well, when I say like an 18 strength or an 18 agility, I'm thinking like Olympics level athlete.
Yeah.
The best in the world.
Sure.
But not beyond that.
No. Well, and that's where like, what is an 18 intelligence?
Yeah, like I'll give you the example for that, like Reed Richards to go into comics. Mm-hmm. I think he has like a 30.
Yeah. This guy's building giant spaceships and crap, single-handedly or whatever. He probably has a team. You just don't hear about it. But yeah, but then again, he's superhuman. He's more than human. Those cosmic rays didn't just make him stretchy. It maybe enhanced his already considerable intellect, whatever.
But are you if you have the 18 intel, are you a Stephen Hawking or an Albert Einstein or?
And that's when it comes down to, if you see somebody show up at your table, he's got like an 18 and 3 different stats. So let me get this straight. You're a guy that somehow has got the physique of an Arnold Schwarzenegger with the brain of a Stephen Hawking and let's just say, charisma or something, 18, like you've got the bearing of, Bill Clinton or something. How many women did he woo into his bed, or somehow this?
I like who you chose for an 18.
Yeah,
charisma.
Well, maybe not 18, but you think of someone. Here's a
Brad Pitt.
This guy's a yokel from. Well, he's man pretty, but charisma, and that's the distinction I want to make. Through the years, it's been a misnomer that charisma was actual physical attractiveness. People lean into that, but that's why they actually added the comeliness stat later.
Sean Connery.
Okay, sure. Because even beyond being, he wasn't a bad-looking guy.
Because he's James Bond, smooth.
Yeah, he had a bearing. Exactly. See, it was how he carried himself, how he acted. He had magnetism. That's charisma to me. Well,
okay, they kind of go hand in hand, because you had, what was the other, comeliness?
Yeah, comeliness was a score. That
was your beauty.
Exactly. That's Brad Pitt.
But think of, who is the ugliest person you can think of that has a great charisma?
Adolf Hitler. He was not an attractive man, but this man wooed a whole nation.
That's true. There's your other kind of charisma.
But I didn't want to mention
Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, he was not a handsome man at all. He's a beanpole with a scraggly beard, and I think he had some mole or something. But he wooed a nation because he was.
But then again, those are 50, 60, hundreds years ago sort of thing. So, I mean, who in the modern world, you can't do anything now as we go off topic without having that look first to get you in the door.
That's why I hate shit like The Voice or something where it's like, hey, you look great and you've got a decent voice. We'll auto tune you and put you out there and make $1 million in records. I love the day when people showed up that were ugly as possum poop and you didn't know what they looked like because you hear them on the radio and you go, man, who cares? What a great song, what a great voice. Like if you ever saw him in public, you'd go, oh damn. Like, which actually Waylon Jennings wasn't a bad looking guy, but I mean, you look at some of those old country guys like Willie Nelson, not a handsome man, but I mean, boy, I love his music, whatever. Would he have a shot nowadays on, You Got Talent Country Edition or some shit, or The Voice or something, You got to be man pretty or a pretty woman or something.
So for 5th edition, an 18 means the carrying capacity of 270 pounds.
Oh, they brought it down.
And a push, pull, lift, and drag 540 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And then also just looking up the information here on the Google box, the max bench press for an actual person, the new record is 1,350.3 pounds.
Holy crap.
So the world's strongest man, or however you'd like to say, is actually well beyond an 18 strength in D&D.
Yeah.
How do you like me now?
That would be...
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, if you brought back the 18 double aught, whatever. But you have to think this is someone who's probably been weight training from a very young age and has maybe used some enhancements.
But even in the
stuff.
18 strength warrior or whatever is the one in a kind genetic freak, or he was forced into that somehow.
Right. But
he had to turn that wheel
exactly.
for years and years.
And that's what I'm getting at is, shouldn't that be kind of unique? So there's something to be said for maybe going back to dice rolls to where not everybody's an 18, and when you get it, you're going to be like, yes.
Well, I think what you're getting at is 18 should be more rare.
Right.
And what I'm getting at is an 18 isn't the be all end all. If I give you an 18 strength, that doesn't mean you're Superman.
No.
That doesn't mean you can start pushing planets around.
Yeah.
It's very nice, and it's a plus 40 hit.
I fix and say in 5th edition, that's plus 40 hit and damage. Holy shit. I can see how people get jazzed about an 18. Old school, if you had just a straight 18, you didn't, like say you weren't a warrior class, only the warriors got to roll the percentile dice for whatever, to give fighters their due. If you had an 18 strength, I would think it was only like +1/+1, or it might have only been +1/+0.
But it's not superhero strength is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, definitely there. And 18 was only, like I said, only like +1/+1. Think about that. In the original game, like, I rolled 3 6 on strength, kiss my ass. Yeah, you're +1 to hit and +1 to damage. What? Whereas now it's like, I'm +4 to hit and damage, woohoo,
So where did the penalties stop at? Still around a 12 or? Where you have a minus. Was it like, sorry, you've only got a 16, so you're -1.
I was going to say, no, I mean, like I said, the actual penalties to hit and damage were somewhere around like 7 or below, or maybe 8 or below. Because 9, 10, 11 was meant to always kind of be the average. Because, I mean, this was 3.6. It was a bell curve, But, yeah. But that's where it's like, even then, I think if, maybe you had a 7, you might have had like -1 to damage or something. I mean, whoop-de-doo. Again, it's not, I mean... But yeah, but that perfect example though, when I ran that Castles and Crusades game at the store and I had everybody roll their characters at the table, there were a couple of them that were like, oh man, I got like all these 11s, 12s, and 13s, and I'm like, dude. And I looked at some old school people because these weren't old schoolers, and I said, would you talk to them? We need to make them understand. I would kill for a character that was mostly 11. Back in the day, would roll. How many times would I be like, hey, this is going to be a pretty good character? Shit, I rolled a 7.
Well, if you just said your character's not going to have any modifiers either direction, you're not going to have any pluses, you're not going to have any minuses, you'd take that deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's like, I'm going to get a -3 in here somehow.
But
I'm sure
there are some people that would be like, no, I want some pluses. I guarantee you.
Nowadays, or then days too.
Well, and I can hear James Ward Mayer going, probably back then too, Matt. But definitely nowadays.
But I think they'd be more accepting of a negative to balance that out too, because that's what it was a lot of times.
No, it really. And I remember good game masters. I don't know if this was hard coding the rules, but this is even Gygax in the original DMG, which I love and still own. It offered up the rule of rolling 4 die 6 and drop the lowest die. And I think even there was like a subtext in there, maybe, I'm just hoping to remember it that way, that basically like, it was kind of like hopeless characters. Like if your character had a minus to 2 and 3 different stats and not even a +1 to at least one stat, they encourage you like, hey, don't be a jerk. Let them just scrap it and roll over again. You know, I think they did the hopeless character rule, but I might be thinking of later editions or different games. But yeah, they're, you know, if I as a game master, someone looked at me, come on, man. I mean, this character's got, you know, no pluses but 2 minuses on different stats. I'd be like, yeah, roll it again, you know. And it's like Gary talked about, they even had a version there, which I thought, oh my gosh. But yeah, what Gary even encouraged, because Gary loves math and let's roll dice back then, it was like you rolled almost like 6 different characters, and then you could pick the best one out of the 6 or something. And I'm like, I don't want to roll that many times. Let's just do 4 dice and drop the lowest. Let me put them in whatever order I want. Because I want you to think about those of you that are new schoolers. Old school, many a time when I played, you roll 3 dice 6 straight down the line. You came to that table going, I think I'm going to play a warrior this campaign. Nope, strength of 7. I'll be playing anything but a warrior.
Which is the Goodman Games way too.
Yeah. But again, brilliantly, not to be that shill for DCC, but with the Warriors Deed die, that really compensates for a lot of that.
Yeah, but I just don't like it in general, because if you come to the table and you're like, I want to play this, and you're like, well, you got that 4 intelligence or whatever, you're not playing the wizard.
Now, mind you, here's the great thing. If you rolled like an 8 or a 9 on the strength, you'd still be a perfectly competent warrior in DCC. Eddie's shaking his head, yes. I mean,
but how would you be as a wizard?
Well, but here's the thing is, remember, DCC's not so stat weighted. You add your level. Well, your level is your level regardless. And then you get to add your intel bonus. At best, if you got that vaunted 18, you're +3. So it's not like if you come into it with a 12 intel, okay, you're going to get the
But in DCC, there's a lot of like, if you didn't get that spell off,
it fizzles.
That can make a big difference.
Oh, yeah.
Because a 12? It's a 12 to get it off?
It's a 12 to get a first level spell off.
So when you can go, you only need to roll a 12, and here's a +3.
Well, and that does make a big difference. But here's something to consider. Okay, so you have to roll a 12. You get to add your level in. So that means you technically need to roll an 11 or better. What's average on a die 20? I mean, technically, 10 or better.
So the more advantage you have, more advantage you have.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's a given. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. But anyway.
Glad you see it my way.
Yeah, we'll see. But again, like I said, the old school wasn't that stat weighted. DCC's not that stat weighted. So people who've played, let's go ahead and call a spade, 5th edition, that are all like, I've only got 12 or something like that. It's like, dude, you're getting your games mixed up. Yeah, I get it. This was D&D. You'd have every right to be upset. 5th edition. 12's not a bad thing, And honestly, it fits more with what I'm trying to say here is that.
What are you trying to say?
Most characters should have the majority average stats. And I get it that you're supposed to be a cut above, but trust me, and if you think about, I've read books, I love them, I own them on like the typical daily life of a typical noble and like a typical commoner and even the 14th century. Trust me, if the majority of your statistics are 12s, you're a cut above. I mean,
I think that's adding in the
too much real world,
yeah.
Whatever.
It's like, okay, well, if you're going to do that, then how can anybody throw fire out of their hands?
Right, exactly. I mean, and that's where I say this is a fantasy game. It's a fantasy world. And I get it that your typical character, but that's where people want to go off and like, well, I'm going to be a warlock with purple hair and a mohawk, and I shoot fire out of my ass because I got to do this stuff to make myself a cut above. It's like, no, already by being an adventurer, and you said, hi, I'm Joe the Human Fighter. But if you've got a 16 and a 14 and another 14 and another 12, you're a standout. You're interesting. You're a cut above. I mean, right there, you don't have to do all this stuff like, I got to make this character extra weird and crazy and out there to really stand out and be interesting. It's like.
Just like real life.
Yeah, right? Anyway.
All right. And my take home message is that an 18 doesn't make you a superhero.
No.
This is not where you start playing supers at just because you have an 18 stat.
Yeah.
But I guess also we can say that due to inflation, an 18 is not as impressive as it once was. When you can just buy an 18, and 18 is almost expected. Like, are you playing the wizard? Okay, you better have point bought into an 18.
Like, you could see some people at a table, if they looked over and saw that the wizard didn't max her, they'd go, what's wrong with you, man? Get it together, But
Which makes me think of the old like Living Greyhawk days.
all the min maxing and power gaming.
Yeah,
and,
where you'd be like, "You haven't min-maxed your character enough. Get off my table."
Yeah, no,
Nobody wants to play with you.
he's not joking. But there were some people that were like, "What kind of crap character is that? That's unplayable." Well, I'm going for a role playing idea. Role playing, get out of here.
You're gonna get us all killed.
Yeah, you're the weakest link. Get out of here. You are the weakest link. Good day. But I'll tell that the story was when I ran for Matt Rogers and some of the boys from the Willow Bend boys home, and I was running a DCC derivative. It was America, but I've got the stack of zeros in the middle of the table, and the kid pulled his first one and goes, "Oh man!" He looked at the stats, and I was like, "Kid, this ain't 5th edition." And it died, and he pulled another one, and it died. Finally he pulled one. He goes, "Woohoo! It's got an 18, and a 16, and a 17," and the kid was just lit up. 5 seconds later, he's reaching that stack for another character.
And 1 hit point.
Yeah, had 3 hit points. So who cares how awesome the stats are? How well did you play the character, and whatever.
Yeah. If you've only got a handful of hit points,
Yeah,
things are gonna happen. Things can happen. You're very fragile.
yeah. If you're gonna do some reckless crap, it's like, but that's what adventurers do, right?
Yeah. You know what else they do?
They run out of hit points.
They wrap it up at the 1 hour mark.
Wrap it up.
So, can I tell by that clock on the wall? We're all out of hit points. We missed you and you missed us.
Goodbye.
He forgot, folks.
I didn't forget. Let's put that on you.